See, a 22-year-old bloke with testosterone milling around his body, and he's with a girl who has 3 kids already, so clearly, you know, obviously sex is not an issue. So what I'm saying is he's probably excited by the whole thing, isn't he?
The mother said, no way, you're throwing your life down the drain. This woman, like, is separated. She's got 3 ready-made kids, and of course, the top of it all then, she told him, then the girl that had the kids, that was it, and she was having no more kids, which of course freaked out his mother more than...
You know, parents, they'll allow their children access to the internet with smartphones and all kinds of things. And they allow their children to go into areas of life and the world that I think are dangerous. And that's as their children. And then when they start getting that bit older, they seem to want to cosset those children.
Okay. I'm going to be straight up with you. Call me a snob if you want, but I think classes don't mix, generally speaking. And they're of 2 different classes. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the woman, but they're of 2 different classes.
I had a guy once in there, he was from private school character, and he said that one was like, he was going to settle down like with a professional, but he'd love to ride a common.
By the way, I consider myself middle class. I'm just middle class.
I don't care I don't care now what you consider yourself as. Like, I know, like, we can't shut you up, so you come from every class, right? But what I'm trying to explain here, right?
Yeah.
Like, I grew up in Ballymun, right?
Yep.
I grew up with nothing. My family grew up with nothing. I have a brother that's a consultant. He's a professor. You know what I mean? So don't say this thing about class doesn't mix.
It was just a phase that young men go through. As you said earlier, we're full of testosterone. We're like, you know what I mean? We're literally, you know, and I don't mean to mean derogatory to women, but most guys at that age, Niall, if a woman has basically 2 tits, a hole and a heartbeat, that's all blokes want, like, you know what I mean? And I apologise if that offends anybody, but that's the way young men's minds think. Sex. And she's obviously given it to him on tap.
Now, you met your partner and he had 5 kids.
I was 23 and Jay was 35.
Okay, but that's more or less exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and we're still together 12 years later.
What did your parents think?
My mum didn't mind. My dad wasn't all too impressed. But when they seen kind of how happy we were and that I was actually genuinely happy, they kind of accepted it. There's no point in saying no. I was the type of person, if he said no to me, I was doing the opposite.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, Niall. I wouldn't want it for my children. I'd worry about it, like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want it for my children.
So if this was your son, what would you say to him?
I tell him to be careful. I tell him I wasn't happy with the situation.
I do. I get it. I do understand where she's coming from, the mother is coming from. Not that I wouldn't want it for my own son, because I'm being a hypocrite if I say I wouldn't. If my son came home to me and said, Mom, I'm after meeting a woman, she's 10 years older than me, she has a kid, and
she's 3 kids. 3.
Oh, she has 3 kids. I agree with James. I would be very, very cautious. But if I was to disagree with it and tell him to run the mile, I'd be a complete and utter hypocrite, because I got myself into the same situation.
The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Podcast. Listen live on Facebook, YouTube, and all the usual live stream services. To get in touch, just WhatsApp or text 085 100 2255. The Niall Boylan Podcast. They told me to shut up. Available for download from all your usual platforms.